Hi guys, Darth here back in the Star Wars action figure review. Today, again, following up with some more older figure releases. We've got a set that I'm really excited to have finally completed. It is the Legacy Collection Dark Empire comic pack, which consists of Dark Empire Luke Skywalker and the Clone Emperor Palpatine. I'm a huge fan of Dark Empire. I know it's maybe not the most well-regarded comic, but it's one of the first Legends comic series I ever read all the way through, front to back. I got the big hardcover collection of all of the comics years and years ago from my parents, and the comic has its issues. The story is a whack. It's kind of whack because of the whole clone emperor thing, and the art is an acquired taste to say the least. But I overall have a really big fondness for the story and the characters, and having modern, these are like over 10 years old now, but modern figures of those characters as they appeared in the comic, I think it's super cool. I've had the Luke for a long time. I got him in a trade years ago, but I actually just got the clone Palpatine today. It's a figure I've been trying to hunt down for a long time now. Not that he's ever been the most super expensive figure ever, but he's not the cheapest either. But I finally got a decent enough deal that I was willing to pull the trigger on him. And it's actually funny. I was watching a video review of the very figure, a buddy of mine on YouTube here, JMC Jin. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm not. But he did a review, and I was watching the review, and I was like, I'll go take a look at eBay, see maybe there's some listings there, and I can finally pick up the figure. And lo and behold, there was a listing with all the accessories in great condition. I put an offer in for a little cheaper. The seller took the offer, and I caught it in like 2 days. So great. Yeah, it's awesome to finally add this figure to the collection and to talk about it. I think I have technically reviewed this Luke before, but it's in many years, and I figured I might as well just review the whole set, give Luke another kind of go at the review. This is also not the first time these characters actually had figures. Way back in the Power of the Force days, they did a small run of Dark Empire figures. I think they did the Imperial Sentinel, which I would like to track down. They did Leia from that series, and then they did Luke and Palpatine. I'd like to, honestly, at some point, track them all down. I don't think they're too expensive. Someday I'll get around to it. I think they're pretty cool looking, even though they're quite dated and their articulation is terrible, but maybe someday. Anyways, we'll get into it. We'll talk about Luke first, because he is a bit of the least interesting figure of the set. Although he is one of my personal favorite Luke Skywalker figures in my 3 3/4 collection. I just think he's one of the coolest looking ones. And crazy enough, this version of the character is getting a Hot Toys release, 6-scale release. How wild is that? I never would have thought ever that Hot Toys would make a Dark Empire figure, or a figure based off Dark Empire. But they're doing a Luke, and they're even doing an artisan version of Luke. I'm not going to get the artisan, but I haven't pre-ordered yet, but I think I am going to pre-order that figure. I think it's one I'm going to have. But taking a look at the Luke here, he is quite cool. I really like the head sculpt. I think the sculpt has a pretty good likeness to Hamill. The paint's okay. Mine, they futzed up the left eye a little bit. It's a little weird looking. Like the left eye, he's like wide and surprised, and the right eye is just like normal looking. I don't think every sample is like that, but mine is, and it's a little weird. The hair is nice though. It's got a bit of it's like the lighter blonde. There's a bit more like a brown wash in it to give it some more detail, which I think is nice. The skin tone for this figure is quite pale, and the skin tone of the neck there is not the same skin tone that's on the head and the hands. It's not super noticeable because of the big cloak with the collar and everything, but it is there if you look closely. He does feature this big black plastic cloak jacket thing, very Dark Empire like. It's got the big shoulders, the big flared out collar, which they like to do with a lot of the force wielding characters in that story. But I think it looks pretty cool. The sculpt, it's big. It's like big and flowing and whatnot, which I think makes it have quite the shelf presence. But by the same token, it also takes out quite a bit of shelf economy, which isn't the best. But I don't know, I think it looks cool. Flexible plastic, you can actually remove it if you want to, but I don't really know why you want to, because the figure's a lot more boring with it off. But the rest of the figure, he's got like these wrappings on the arms, and they go up to the hands, and you got the hands there with a bit of the flesh tone. just two gripping hands. And on the inside, you've got just kind of black. There's not a ton of paint here. He's got a belt with some silver paint for the buckle. I don't really think there's anything on the back. No. Then the legs are kind of cool because he's wearing leather pants that are kind of similar looking to Darth Vader's. And then he's got some pretty simple looking boots. There's not really a whole lot to talk about, but it's a pretty cool looking Luke. I like it quite a bit. Articulation wise, he's actually pretty well articulated. You have a ball joint in the head. He looks down a decent amount, up just a bit, rotation, and a decent amount of pivot on actually. Ball hinges at the shoulders, which do get hindered a bit by the plastic cloak there, but not too bad. They still go out 90. They rotate. Single hinges at the elbows, which work pretty good. They go 90. Swivel at the wrists. A swivel at the waist. He has swivel hips. He has hinged knees with a rotation that bend pretty good actually. And then a swivel and hinge at the ankles. So articulation is pretty good. It's got a pretty, what would have been considered some of the better articulation for the time period for sure. However, though, with the big cloak, you're not going to be able to get like crazy poses with the legs or anything. But I think it's fine. I've been able to pose them enough to my liking at any rate. In terms of accessories, he just comes with the one. You do get his green bladed lightsaber. The green, it's pretty light green. It's almost a yellowish green, but it looks fine. This hilt, I think, is unique to this set. Whether it's accurate to the actual lightsaber he uses in the comic, I can't remember, because I think he'd be using his Return of the Jedi style hilt, but it's been a while since I've read the comic. But it's got nice silver paint with some black detailing there. It looks good. And he grips the saber just fine in either hand, like so. Looks good. I can't really think of too much else the figure could have came with. I think the original figure actually came with a blaster pistol, so I guess it would have been kind of cool for him to come with that, because I think he actually does use a pistol at least once that I can remember, maybe a few times, and maybe including like a red lightsaber, because I think he also did use a red blade lightsaber because he fell to the dark side for a while. That was a big plot point of him thinking he needed to learn about the dark side to defeat Palpatine again, and then he ended up just kind of actually falling for a little while. So that would have been kind of cool, but that's okay. The green still looks really nice with the big black cloak and everything. I like that quite a bit. But moving on from Luke, we can now take a look at the Palpatine that I'm super happy to finally have, the clone Emperor, Darth Sidious, whatever you want to call him. And this figure is really awesome. I think it's really cool. It's definitely one of the coolest Palpatine figures, one of the most unique Palpatine figures you can get. I really like the head sculpt a lot. You don't really get too many non-wrinkly, younger, sort of younger looking Palpatine figures. They're all pretty old. And this one's got much smoother features. I really like the skin tone. It's very not natural looking, which is nice. I love the sculpt as well. The kind of snarl or the grimace he's giving looks super good. And the teeth are painted, look great. The eyes are painted pretty nice with the Sith orange there in the middle, looks good. I really like the gray slicked back hair as well. That looks really nice. And he's got this like chest armor that kind of reminds me of Darth Vader's chest armor. It has some nice paint apps. He's got the big flared out collar. Again, that was a popular thing with this comic. And you've got some sculpted kind of fabric straps or wraps or whatnot going on there. And you've got a full soft goods robe covering the whole figure. Which is pretty decent material. It's not too thin. It flows pretty well. It does have this weird, like, I don't know what you can call this, like strap thing that kind of goes around the figure. Kind of gives it almost a bathrobe look. It's like it's kind of like the strap for a bathrobe is the best way I can describe it. It's a little odd, but it kind of adds to the whole kind of like frayness, ruggedness of the cloak. It's like you just found the first kind of old cloak you could find, just threw it on. It's got these little wraps there, and then you've got the cuts and the tatters on the edges that I think look pretty cool. You can, however, remove the cloak. You just got to pop off the head. You take off the armor collar bit, and then you just take his dress off here, his bathrobe, and then you have the Palpatine figure without the robe on, and yeah, maybe not the image everyone wants to see, but it's his naked clone body that has some wraps. He's literally got the almost got the booty cheeks out, the Palpatine booty cheeks out. It's a look, but I think in the comics he literally fights Luke butt ass naked. So I'm glad they at least gave the black straps and wraps and whatnot, so we didn't have to see that. You'll see the skin tone is all like greenish, yellowy looking, which is super cool. And he's got this weird spots, like a blue, gray, and spots all over the figure, all over the skin, which is accurate to the comic. He did have all that in the comic. I assume it's because the clone body is imperfect. I don't know what the reason is. I'm assuming the body is imperfect, but maybe it's like when this is just when he like freshly got out of the clone vat. Maybe it's stuff that comes off eventually after he's out of the vat for a while. But all the black wraps look pretty cool. He does have, I like that the left hand is this outstretched, like force gesturing hand. That's really neat. I mean, it has reinforced knuckles for some reason. But yeah, it looks pretty good. He's got the toes out, which is something. He's got peg holes at the bottom of the feet there. Yeah, it's a look, man. It's a look. But it is pretty accurate. But we will get his clothes back on and then continue on from there. Okay, guys, robe back on and going over articulation. He actually has the exact same articulation scheme as Luke, so it's pretty good. He's a ball joint at the head. It doesn't have as much movement as Luke does, but you do get a decent amount of pivot. You get rotation, not really much up and down. These are the shoulder joints. The armor will hinder it a little bit, but it's not too bad. Single hinge elbows that move, I think, just shy of 90, and then swivels at the wrist. There is a swivel waist, a swivel at the hips, a hinge at the knee, and then you get swivel and hinges at the ankles. So pretty decent articulation. You get this guy looking pretty good. In terms of accessories, he also actually comes with some pretty cool accessories. Sometimes it's a little annoying getting him to stand just because the robe gets in the way and I can't see what I'm doing. But first off, he comes with, oh yeah, there he goes. First off, he comes with a lightsaber, and pretty unique. He actually comes with a blue-bladed lightsaber. Very rare to get Sith characters with different colors other than red, and even rare to get colors that aren't blue. I think the only other Sith characters that blue are pre-armor Vaders and Exar-Kun. So this is pretty cool. The hilt, I believe, is unique to this set. It's silver with some nice black paint apps, and the blue is a nice, pretty nice vibrant blue, honestly. And it's literally like a lightsaber he has hooked on a wall. He just grabs in the moment to fight, I think, Luke and maybe Leia too. I don't remember. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty unique, you know. You don't really see these dark side characters utilizing blue, you know. So I do like that quite a bit. And I do believe it is accurate to the colors used in the comic. The coloring, that style that they use in the comic is really odd, to be honest. I've grown to have a nostalgia for it, but it is pretty odd looking, and sometimes you wonder if colors of certain things in the book are actually the intended color they're supposed to be. So maybe this wasn't actually supposed to be a blue saber, but that's what it looked like in the comics. So that's what they did for the figure, and I do think it looks pretty cool. I do like that a lot. It makes it more unique on the shelf, so I'm all for it. He also comes with a force lightning effect, which is very nice. Unique to the set as well. I don't think they ever used this piece before or after. It just does, it attaches just via a clip around the wrist, and how I like to do that, obviously with the open hand. And then I like to clip it under on the underside, like don't go over top, but go from underneath. I don't know if I can straighten his wrist out here. And then when you do that, it at least simulates that kind of coming out of his hand. Obviously, I prefer the newer style of lightning effects when it's interchangeable hands and it's actually coming out of the fingers. But this looks still pretty good. I like this quite a bit. It doesn't droop or anything, and you can balance him without a stand or whatnot. He'll stand while holding the, having the effect piece equipped, or not equipped, or clipped on him. I like so. And then the last accessory, which is one of the probably the coolest in the 2-pack, and one that can kind of be hard to find. A lot of listings of this figure don't usually include this accessory. but you get the Jedi Holocron of Bodo Bass, which is an important piece, an important holocron that's used in the story. And it's very cool because it's not only the holocron, which is nicely painted and sculpted, you get the gold paint with the detail on it, but it also has the actual hologram gatekeeper of Bodo Bass sculpted in a translucent blue. It has some pretty nice details. He's a descendant of Bodo Siosk Bass from Tales of the Jedi, Exarchun's master, so he looks similar to him. That's very bug-like. But that's a very cool accessory. I really like it when they add little accessories like these with these figures. I imagine if you take the lightning effect off of Palpatine, you could probably hold it in the open hand. Otherwise, the figure's going to have issues holding it because they have gripping hands that are too tight. Either way, it's very cool to get this accessory. I like it a lot. You can just display it on like a table or something too. It stands upright just fine. But yeah, I guess lastly, just do some quick comparison, I suppose. Do Luke real quick. There's not really too much to compare him with. I don't have the older Power of the Force version, but here's just this Luke with a more modern Luke. This is the Mandalorian light cruiser Luke, which is probably my definitive 3¼ Return of the Jedi style Luke right now. And you can see, you know, the differences, some similarities. But, yeah, I don't know. Not much of a comparison, to be honest. I'll put Luke back there, but we do have a fair amount of Sidious's, Palpatines, what have you. Here he is with the most recent Palpatine, which is, I think, is a couple of years old now, honestly. But this is the TVC. I'll have to excuse, I haven't touched this figure in a while. He's a little dirty. But this is the TVC Return of the Jedi standard release Palpatine. And you can see how they look. You can see how the clone looks a lot better looking than his old gnarled face. Although both these are technically accurate to Dark Empire because he looked like this when the clone bodies decayed, and then he looked like this when he had a new clone body. So if you wanted to make a Dark Empire display, you could actually use both of these figures if you wanted to. But you can kind of see the differences. I gotta clean this figure after this. That's not so good. Then for fun, here's another figure, Emperor Palpatine figure that was actually released in the same year. This is also released in the Legacy Collection. This is the single release Legacy Collection Empire Strikes Back Palpatine that was based on the very first version of the film that didn't have Ian McDiarmid as the actor, but the original actor, which I think looks super cool. This is actually one of my favorite Palpatines in my collection. I think it's still a really solid one, and I like it a lot. It looks really nice. But you can see how they look. They're actually fairly similar figures, kind of as how and feel, I guess. But there's that. But that's pretty much it. Overall, I think this is a really solid set. It's a definite recommend for me, but I wouldn't say they're must-have figures. If you are not familiar with Dark Empire, or you actively dislike Dark Empire, you probably won't want these. But if you're like me, you're a fan of Dark Empire, and maybe you just want two pretty cool versions of Luke and Palpatine, I think this is a super cool set to get. You can find it for okay prices online, depending on, I guess, what your definition of okay is. I see the 2-pack, sometimes mint on card, go for around $80 Canadian. I don't know, maybe like around 60 US. I can't, 60, 65 US, I'm not sure. Which I think is not a terrible deal for these, to be honest, for the characters that they are and the age of the set. Palpatine I got for, after the seller took my offer, I got him for 40 Canadian, and that was with all the accessories, including the Holocron, and in great condition and all that. So I think that was pretty worth it. At that price, I probably wouldn't pay too much more than that. But yeah, they're really super cool figures from that era of Star Wars figures. And if you're a Legends collector and a fan of Dark Empire, definite recommend from me. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.